So I'd like to have a go if I may.
Dude, your quarter is on the table.
Thanks, boys.
Put it in the slot, dude.
All right, so Ozu for me, I had read a little bit over the years. He had sort of a reputation, and I think the reputation is his movies are slow, and it's all about his compositions. And I know we're going to talk about his compositions because oh my God, right? But I was expecting from that we were going to kind of get some rarefied artsy thing that was probably going to be beautiful, but try my patience a little bit. And instead we got like this gut-wrenching family drama. And that was a pleasant surprise for me. So I did take some notes. I mean, the ending, oh my God, it doesn't club you over the head or anything, but it just sits with you and you're just like, wow. There's a scene as they're all kind of, the funeral's over and they're all saying their goodbyes, and one by one the kids are leaving the house. And then Kyoko, the youngest daughter, is leaving, and she's talking to Noriko, the daughter-in-law. And Kyoko's like bagging on her brothers and sisters. Like my family is so selfish. They're so thoughtless. Blah blah blah. And the daughter-in-law is defending them, saying, "Well, people grow up, they have their own lives, yada yada yada." And she goes, "No, they're selfish. They suck." And then there's this exchange where Kyoko says, "Isn't life disappointing?" And Noriko just goes, "Yes, it is."
Yeah.
And that's like,
it's the daughter-in-law who lost a husband in the war, right?
Yeah, the daughter-in-law. Yeah, the one who stayed the longest after the funeral.
But what an interesting idea! It's like the one who actually doesn't have a real connection there is actually the one who's stuck closest to the parents.
I mean, everything's so contained, except when the dad gets drunk. That's sort of like one place where it isn't. But the whole thing's so contained until that very end where people are leaving, and then like the daughter and the daughter-in-law have that exchange, and then the daughter-in-law and the father have that heart-to-heart right before she leaves, and he gives her the watch and stuff. And he's like, no, you're a very good person. She's like, no, I'm not. He goes, yeah, you are.
So I think that's one of the best drunk scenes I've ever seen.
Argument.
Yeah. So I mean, just that was just arresting for me, was to see that bald face kind of like, yeah, life's disappointing, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
It sucks.
And I was looking up criticism on it. Roger Ebert had some great things to say about it. I was thinking that actually, this isn't Roger Ebert. This is me. I wrote this down. The films are so often about especially Western films are so often about massaging you into feeling good about yourself,
right?
Justifying your life and your choices and giving you a narrative that you can make sense out of your life. And Tokyo Story doesn't give you any of that. Yeah. It's not a balm. It's not about making you feel good, and yet it makes you feel good, I think, and that's based on like recognition
of the human condition, basically.
Because it's about being human.
It's about being human. Yeah. So it's like a deeper level. It's a movie that made me cry, that made me feel good. So which is a genre I realize I really enjoy. So
one of the things, I'll just take it from here, that one of the things that struck me about this is that we are living in America and growing up watching Western films. We know the language of Western cinema really well. You know, standing up, head height, diegetic music. All this, reaction shots that go over the shoulder, all the stuff like this. The language of cinema that we know is a construct. And you see Otsu, it's like seeing a film. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's from another planet, because he developed his own cinematic language through like his experience with Japanese, theater and basically going through silence and having his own rules. So you have this thing where you don't have over the shoulder. You actually have people reacting to the camera. You actually have the camera lives 2 feet off the ground.
Right, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect. No, does it?
It makes
perfect
Western
sense. Audience, it
in
makes
Japan.
No sense. In Japan, no. Even Japanese filmmakers don't do this that often.
Yeah.
And so,
well, he had already done it. I mean,
we actually we're seeing an entirely different film language. It resembles ours, but it's not the same thing.
He doesn't even cut away when.
No.
when someone's talking, he waits until they're done with their sentence, their line.
Yeah.
Before he cuts to the other person.
Extremely deliberate. That's the thing. And
There's no like coverage reaction shots where people are like,
And, yeah, I mean,
like listening, like.
I knew we were going to start talking about, you know, the camera placement and stuff, but to me, it wasn't challenging at all. I didn't.
You got used to it really quickly.
I got used to it really quickly.
Yeah.
Well, and they spend an inordinate amount of time kneeling.
Yeah,
well, that's the thing. Yeah,
that's the driver behind it all.
Which is which completely logically motivates the camera placement.
Yeah.
But beyond that, just the fact that when he was indoors, almost without fail, he would be either perpendicular or parallel to the walls. He would always be on those 90-degree lines.
Right.
And everything is a square.
Very formal.
Notice at one point the camera moves. I think it's
One time, it's 1 hour in, Jim.
Yeah, it moves.
Yeah.
Yes. It was startling. I said it out loud. I go, look, he's moving the camera.
No, after a while, he stopped doing that. When he got to color, you know, that in the early 60s, he stopped moving his camera entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the only
He only did
shot,
it once
isn't it?
here. Yeah. He's
That's
not
one
interested
shot.
in that.
And then again,
The first Ozu I saw was his last movie, which is in color. And I swear parts of it are shot in the same area, that dike behind the house.
Oh, yeah.
That they're walking on. They're really, anyway.
The only other Ozu I've seen was that film called I Was Born, but it was a comedy from the 30s. It was like it was early talkie. And again, same neighborhood. The dike along the walkway, along the canal behind the houses, and it was all about growing up. Same thing.
It's in High and Low also.
Yeah, well, High and Low. But well, Kurosawa actually is the guy who broke away from this.
Right.
It's like Kurosawa started doing things in Western style, which is like full height camera level, and doing reaction shots and over the shoulder shots, borrowing a lot of stuff from John Ford and Western cinema. So he kind of broke what Ozu was trying to do in a lot of ways.
But I'm talking specifically about the dike and the walking along.
Yeah.
Like that's in High and Low.
It is in High and Low. Exactly.
I started screenshotting like everything because I was so struck by this 90-degree thing that he's never shooting on a diagonal when he's indoors.
No.
He's never, until there's two places where he'll do it. He does it in the bar scene.
Yeah.
You're getting drunk. And then you're up for grabs. He's shooting all kinds of diagonals there. And the other place he goes to out of this 90-degree thing is at the funeral. So to me, it's like it signifies like real emotions breaking through.
Okay, that's legit.
Rethink Wes Anderson a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it did make me think of Wes Anderson for sure.
No, these people are acting.
Shots like behind John.
Are they though?
All the
Yes.
squares inside of each other. you know?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Look at how this. Where is it? The screen.
Yeah.
He's got those little rectangles are exactly running right across the top edge of the screen
Yeah.
frame. It's perfect.
Well, also think about traditional Japanese architecture and how that affects how people think about interior spaces.
Yes.
It's all sliding doors and square on and undecorated. It's like it was like science fiction back in the 1800s. You know what I mean?
I've never seen repaired shoji in Japanese.
Yes.
Yes.
Or a bunch of patches in,
Yeah.
I guess it's Norika's place.
Here's a shot from. Oh, I'm sorry.
There's even like this here, which is a different color than the rest of it.
Yeah. That they
Although,
replaced
if you
it.
saw enough samurai movies, and I saw a lot of samurai movies growing up, there's a thing where the samurai is spying on the shogun. We'll do this.
Look at this one.
Put his finger through the screen and kind of look through there.
Yeah.
There's a shot from the funeral.
Yeah.
Look, he's completely on the diagonal there.
Yeah.
3/4 it. He wasn't shooting 3/4 of anybody. You know.
He's not just on the diagonal. He is 100% 45 degrees. Like
It's
he is
45 degrees.
45 degrees.
That's all precise.
45 degrees.
Precise in itself. You think about
Yeah,
it.
indeed.
Mhm.
Anyway, so arigato, Jim. I loved it.
Thank you. I thought you'd be the one who'd really enjoy it.
I really fucking loved it.
Uh-huh. Uh-oh. Anybody
Somebody
else?
freeze up.
Who else wants to go?
I think this is the third time I've seen this movie. I love this movie. I love his style. The other ones I've seen are the other two that are
Yeah, like something spring.
Yeah, the spring one, he has ones that are the seasons.
Yeah,
I've seen
the end
those
of
two.
summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always, of course, I mean, I was introduced to him in film school. I was very taken with his style, reading up on it a little bit. I mean, you can't, the visual style is something of a marvel, and he loves to put characters, side by side rather than looking at each other a lot of the time, and they're talking, and the singles always, like we've discussed already. But yeah, the human emotion that he achieves is I think pretty spectacular, and yeah, it's a wonderful film. I love this movie. No surprise.
Jared, before you started talking, I thought somebody froze up on the screen because we don't usually fall silent. Everybody went silent.
I know. Well,
I was like, oh, what went wrong?
Chris is waiting for something though. He's loaded up for bear at this point.
Let's go. Let's
I'm
go.
worried about Chris.
Cat hasn't said anything.
Huh?
I found it languid and boring.
Okay, there it is.
Oh.
It was a very long film.
It's incredibly long.
Yeah.
Nah.
It's only 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, and it feels like it's about 7 hours long.
Yeah.
It's got a very distinctive before. I mean, everybody keep going, please. But you know what I like about Ozu, is particularly this film too, but his other ones too. The sound design is actually kind of, I could tell when it's his. I don't know how to describe it. Because it's not so unlike movies of that time period, but I think he paid real attention to it, and
there's definitely
nice.
some intentional choices that aren't just like, well, I need some background sound here or whatever.
Yeah, and he's
not afraid of and stuff.
He's not afraid of silence, obviously, at all. And
Well,
I love that.
lack of non-diegetic music in this thing, it's like you're forced to actually do good sound design because there's literally nothing else.
It shows up.
Yeah,
but it's almost like a rhythm.
Yeah.
Where I sort of know when it's quiet, and then I sort of know when someone's going to start talking even before they talk, because it's almost like a rhythm, like a song, like I can hear it and I go, oh, we're due for a line right now. And then they do it. No, really. I really think that. And I think he's that talent, or he's that tuned into it that he's,
Right.
I will say I really enjoyed the humanity of Noriko. Like every time she was on screen, she just lit up the movie. Like the amount that she brings human emotion to the movie is so wonderful, because it's just like the rest of the family sucks so hard.
They do.
Like and Noriko is and she's the one who's not related. Like and she's the one who is so giving and kind to the rest of the people, and not like they're awful children. Like the children are so terrible in this movie.
Self-absorbed.
What?
They're self-absorbed.
Yeah, and it's like,
well, they're also trying to get ahead. That's like, it was a very competitive time after the war.
The dad has to go and like deal with a patient, and the kids get so fucking mad that they can't go out.
Oh,
and, and even
are you talking about the little kids or
actually the kids are horrible. The little kids are horrible.
Two generations. They're terrible.
And like that's the one part where I even had sympathy for the mom, because the mom goes into the kitchen and is like, can you guys stop being fucking terrible?
Right.
And they're like, no, we can't. It turns out. Like
but the father, not about talking about the little children now, but just talking about the sons and daughters, he's very sort of accepting of it, and he makes excuses for them. He's like, he gets drunk and complains about his kids, and then immediately like reverses himself and goes, but I'm lucky. They're better than probably most kids.
Yeah, but they're not. They're actually terrible. Your kids suck. Man.
Hey, wasn't the lady great who played Shige, the older sister, who wanted the clothes, wanted to go through her mom's closet and take shit out?
I've been at where you're cleaning out.
Is that the one with the curly hair?
Apartment.
Dibs on her dress or whatever.
Dibs on her dress.
Yeah.
Is that the one with the curly hair?
Yeah, she's got like wavier hair. Yeah, and she's older.
Well, yeah, she runs the beauty parlor.
She runs a beauty parlor.
Yeah.
Also, one of the things I talked about is that this was like a different sort of cinematic language, but it could also be Ozu came up in the silence, and this feels a lot like a silent weepy. There's like
Yes.
a little melodramatic. It's a little bit heightened.
I feel like it
little
would be
bit
better without dialogue.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
If it was a
But
silent
that's how it came.
movie, I feel
Japanese,
like
the Japanese, and they came into sound film late, like the late 30s, and so he had a long run of silent films before he got into sound films.
You know why, right? They had this
why.
guild of women who used to narrate silent movies.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I went and saw one of the last living ones from the 30s.
Wow.
At the Pacific Film Archive.
Whoa.
Damn.
Like the 20s. And they sat her, it was almost like no drama or something. She's like seated on the stage.
Proscenium, right?
Proscenium arches.
Yeah.
And telling you what's going on.
Damn.
Wow. So she did a narration for a film live?
Yeah.
Wow, in English.
She did it in English, yes.
Wow, that must have been cool.
And she was from Sacramento or something.
Oh yeah, there we go.
It'd be like going to a theater and seeing Metropolis with an actual live orchestra playing under it.
Yeah. That's fun.
Because in Japan, that was what they did.
Well, the argument is that I'm not sure how much of this was his unique style and how much was trying to overcome the limitations of silent film, and how he carried that into sound film. It's an open question.
The weird thing is, and I found the movie, it's based on an American movie from
Leo McCarey's film.
Yeah.
It's on. You could get it on Blu-ray.
Yes,
but it's not streaming.
Was
it?
Something
Make way for tomorrow.
Make way for tomorrow.
For tomorrow.
I was intrigued by this because you never know, right?
I saw a trailer I saw a film clip with Peter Bogdanovich.
And
he was having
I watched that too, Jim.
Wells. And he said, "Have you ever seen this movie, Make Way for Tomorrow?" And he goes, "Oh, it's the saddest movie I've ever seen."
You could wring tears from a stone.
Yeah. Even Orson was impressed.
Mm-hmm.
In that same clip, then it ends with Bogdanovich saying that that same year he made Make Way for Tomorrow, he won the Oscar for The Awful Truth.
That's right.
And he went up and got his Oscar, and he thanked the Academy and said, "But you gave me the Oscar for the wrong movie."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
If that movie was available, guys, I would pick it because I would.
Who was that? Who's the filmmaker?
Tomorrow by Leo McCarey.
Leo McCarey.
Yeah.
Is that interview on the Criterion Channel?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same film we saw, except it's set in the Depression and in America, and
the kids are somehow worse.
Yeah, they're actually worse. Yes.
McCarey's the guy who did.
Give me advance warning when you're going to pick that, because I'm going to take that week off.
Yeah, right. Tad, have you seen it? You talk about it like you have.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I saw it when I was in college because one of my friends was in a class where it was a required thing. So I went with them. They showed it at the cinema at school.
Oh, that's nice.
Millimeter print or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was depressing.
Well,
it was a bomb. It was a box office bomb.
Yeah, I can't imagine why. I can't imagine why no one wanted to sit through that.
The two old people get.
It was just like, oh God, these fucking children are just the worst. Like, it makes the kids in this seem like they're like
they're trying at least in this film, but
yeah.
So Chris is still being terrifyingly quiet this entire time. I'm really good.
Let's hear it, Chris.
Everybody else talk.
We're done.
All right. So on one hand, when I saw Jim pick this, I went, I always check the Scorsese list that I have of all the movies, all the 4 movies Scorsese thinks you should watch before you die, and this was on the list. I'm like, cool, I get to check another one off. And I will acknowledge that in an absence of like being Japanese in the 50s, we're not the target audience of this movie.
Well said.
And I would imagine that this movie hits a lot different if you grew up in Japan during World War II, and the specifics of the family dynamic within that community, very different than what I grew up with. I mean, you guys probably all had much better relationships with your family than I do. I didn't even talk to mine, but I found that this is an easier movie to admire than enjoy. And also I think that it is, I wish I could have watched it at 1.25 speed repeatedly. The line readings in this movie, with the exception of the actress that Tad mentioned, are given by people who would appear to be in some kind of waking coma.
Like,
half of this movie is stuck in a Jello mold.
The guy playing the dad, which I looked up, who seems to be either, I think he's 16 years younger than the woman playing his wife.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Which is weird because he looks about 16 years older.
Yes.
Than her.
He seems
That's
to
a lot of cigarettes.
To play the old guy as if I'm constantly waking up from a nap and delivering the line without moving my mouth.
Oh, there's one moment. There's one
That's why
moment
all
where
the
he walks in the first third of the movie.
Yeah,
where he walks back into the room and he kneels down back in front of the table, and it just takes him like 45 seconds to say his line. And it's just like, oh my God, please just spit it out, you motherfucker. Please.
It's very deliberate.
Lines in this movie delivered, like,
and it's all shot here. It's
at
just
the end of the
like,
fucking movie, when that woman says to him, "You're gonna die a lonely old man." It is with this weird fucked up smile, like she's talking about how sunny it is outside.
The dumbass neighbor. It's
over and over.
Staple.
This movie, just what I'll say is, I found the plot of this movie tremendously evolved for something that came out in 1953. Yeah. This is the kind of movie we're all used to because they make fuck tons of them now.
Seriously, this story can be made alone. This story can be made right now.
Right now, and it was
totally
relevant and totally like 4 hours. So on that level, like, the plot's great. I just found the acting specifically extremely challenging. The pace is languid to say the least.
I was imagining that they would give a line, that you'd have Ozu looking at a script girl, and then go back to Ozu and go to the next line. It was very. It was almost
and then they would have to move the camera to the other side of the room so they could get a straight-on shot of the next person talking. But the movie felt like it.
Also, this movie is grim as fuck.
No shit.
Well, but then, like, the last shot, like, it's the old guy sort of staring off at the dew, like, to this side, and then you get like these kind of weird cuts to the outside with the train and the lake, and then they cut to another view of this. Like, it's almost
like there's a more interesting movie happening outside.
I don't know.
There was a spa day. That was nice.
And again, like, I'm the asshole because this is a movie that literally has a perfect 100 on Metacritic, and I'm sitting here stone face, like, why don't we
yeah, those people had never seen a movie before. Like, that's
I wouldn't worry about it.
It is like you said, it is a trance, but you either
this is why we're here.
I found the cinematography and the setups, but this is where Wes Anderson got his shtick. I get it now.
It's beautiful.
Like, yeah, there's about 4 feet between this fence and this screen, and somehow it's about 1.5 inches on film.
Sure, yeah, that stuff's.
Well, that's also black and white. He also
degrees, like, all that stuff's great.
Also, Ozu always filmed in the 50mm lens every single time.
Yes, everything shot with a nifty 50.
Yeah, that's the most average lens. That's the middle range. So it's never going to look
50 or 35.
Yeah, it's either or 85 if you want to be like the network.
Everything is bokeh.
Yeah, but the thing is, that was it. He was always in that. This is the most realistic focal length. So we're going
to. He's the opposite of shallow. This is all deep focus work.
I just kept
Are there not hospitals in fucking Japan? Are there no hospitals where they live?
We blew them all up with
leave
bombs.
a woman in a coma.
No, well, they were
to die.
Well, sorry, man.
We flew B-52s over every one of their hospitals and dropped bombs on them. Like, we did that.
And then incendiary bombs.
7 or 8 years.
Yeah, and then burned all of the places around them.
I appreciate that, but there's a woman dying on the fucking kitchen floor, and they're all just sitting over it.
Yep.
I think that felt more traditional than it did like outrageous. It's like that's how you died back then.
And again, this is my lack of contextual.
So would you rather die?
You died in your home, surrounded by your family and friends. It's actually kind of a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
not dying would be more beautiful.
Yeah.
But if you're going to
Admittedly, but that's like going to the hospital and dying in front of like doctors. The whole thing.
Yeah, or you wouldn't, because it turns out
It's a
that you
different.
have
It's a
heart
different
attack and
culture.
you-
Okay,
It's a different culture and a different
We're flipping
time.
over an entirely different dynamic here. I'm not sure we want to go there.
I'm just like my whole thing about this movie is I was sitting here thinking Rashomon was made 3 years before this, and his filmmaking is so dynamic and
It's-
interesting.
Seven Samurai 2 years later.
2 years later, and
Yeah.
and again, like there's so much movement, and the movement in a Kurosawa movie is so beautiful.
But you know what?
Like,
How much of that's cultural bias, though? How much of that's like, we're
I
used
think
to-
the
because this
stillness in this
is
movie
a
is
John
beautiful.
Ford film.
but I don't. But I
Some of those are
don't.
John Ford
So
films. So how much of this is the stuff that we are
I-
used to versus stuff we're not used to, which is Otsu, which is a totally different
there's
film
plenty of
language.
movies
Yeah,
that
it's
we
just
watch where
different
it doesn't
art.
move
It's
just
just
different
different
art.
art, and
It
I agree
is.
with John.
And
Ozu
Scott,
is
you agree with Scott too.
and Scott. I mean, I think
But
Ebert might
mostly
have.
John.
that doesn't change how boring it feels. Like, that's
I was not bored at all.
I'm not
that's
bored. I
fine.
wasn't
You're
I
allowed
get
to like
that.
the movie,
All right,
and
all
I'm
right.
allowed to not
I've
like
been
it.
bored
Chris is
all
But
allowed
day.
to not.
we shouldn't be trying to talk you out of it, Tad, and I don't think anybody is. But we're just
No, you're not. We're
disagreeing
not actually.
vehemently.
No, you're
right.
No, Tad's responses are actually.
Yeah,
I think,
Chris and I agree on this.
I think it was, but there's I think in Ebert's review, I think he has a line about that I thought was interesting. A line about how because Ozu uses this style, there's a purity to it. There's some kind of he strips away every sort of almost artifice in a weird way that you get from most filmmaking, and
yet it's very artificial.
right, but yet it's very
It's
constructed. So it's
extraordinarily
this.
artificial.
it's just different. It's
It
not,
is as
it's not-
weird
it's-
as the dinner scene in Eraserhead. The
Yeah.
way
Western films are super artificial too. We're just
if there was
That's
if
the
there was a
thing.
weird chicken monster in the back of this movie, I would respect it.
Would have liked it more.
Yeah.
it's just different. That's the
You
only
know,
thing.
it occurred to me,
It's
and I
normal in a
never.
different way.
It occurred to me, and I never wish. I've never, I think, wished this about watching a black and white movie before. But this is one where it was like, God, this would look gorgeous in color.
like Douglas Sirk saturation.
Oh my
would-
God! I mean,
wouldn't that have
the
been
compositions,
incredible?
the compositions, and the architecture and everything is so beautiful in it. I was thinking, man, these would be like Japanese prints, like this picture behind me. You know, I mean, it would be beautiful.
I read that when he
Oh,
started.
I'd love to see the bamboo out
Yeah.
here in
Yeah.
green.
I
And
read that
nothing
when-
else.
yeah.
Like the
I
rest of
loved-
it could be black and white, and then you just would have the green bamboo.
Green bamboo growing out.
I remember when Otsu started doing color films, he only did them in Agfa color, the German process, because he said it actually the only film stock that did reds right
Wow.
was
I actually really love this in black and white, but not as much as the next movie.
There you go. All right,
Yeah, we're talking about pretty black and white
Stop
movie.
right there. It's thumbs time, man.
I actually kind of wish I kind of wish we'd started with the other.
It
one,
was
honestly.
slow, but it was you know what? Open yourself up to a new experience. You know, it's not Western cinema. This is something else.
agree.
Enjoy it.
Cool. Boring. Next movie.
All right, good enough. All right,